The boss froze when he saw the childhood photo of his lost daughter in the secretary's hand. The rain hammered against the 42nd floor windows like it had something to prove. Jonathan Reed stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the city blur beneath sheets of water that turned the streets below into rivers of light. At 48, he'd spent enough years in this office to know every sound it made. The hum of the air conditioning, the muffled conversations from the hallway, the way the building groaned when the wind picked up. But none of those sounds could drown out the silence in his chest. Between his fingers, he held a small silver pendant shaped like a butterfly. The metal had lost some of its shine over the years, worn smooth by his constant touching, his constant remembering. It had belonged to his first wife, Catherine. She'd worn it every day until the accident. The accident that took her. The accident that took their daughter, Emily, 5 years old. Gone for 18 years now. Jonathan closed his eyes and let himself remember her laugh, high and bright. The kind that made everyone in the room smile whether they wanted to or not. He remembered the way she'd run to him when he came home from work, her little arms stretched out, complete trust in her eyes that Daddy would catch her. He always did, until he couldn't anymore. "Mr. Reed," the voice startled him. Jonathan turned to find his new secretary standing in the doorway, a stack of folders clutched against her chest. She looked nervous, which made sense. It was only her first Monday. Human Resources had sent her over after his previous assistant quit to move to Boston with her husband. Temporary replacement, they'd said. Just until they found someone permanent. Yes. Jonathan slipped the pendant back into his pocket, the motion so practiced it was automatic. "I have the quarterly reports you asked for. Also, Mr. Chen called about the Singapore deal. He wants to reschedule tomorrow's video conference." "Fine. Send him my available times for the rest of the week." Jonathan moved to his desk, putting distance between himself and the windows. The rain always made him melancholic. "What was your name again?" "Claire Bennett." She stepped into the office, setting the folders on his desk with careful precision. "Is there anything else you need right now?" Jonathan looked at her properly for the first time. She was young, mid-20s maybe, dark eyes that seemed too old for her face. She wore a gray skirt and white blouse, simple and professional. But her shoes were worn at the heels. Not poor, but not wealthy either. Working her way up. Probably. He'd seen dozens like her over the years. Except there was something about her eyes. Something that made him uncomfortable in a way he couldn't name. "No, that's all. Thank you, Claire." She nodded and left, pulling the door closed behind her with barely a sound. Jonathan sat down and tried to focus on the reports, but the numbers swam in front of his eyes. The rain kept falling. The pendant felt heavy in his pocket. The week passed in a blur of meetings and phone calls. Claire proved to be efficient. Maybe too efficient. She anticipated his needs before he voiced them, organized his files in a way that actually made sense, and handled difficult clients with a quiet competence that surprised him. She never asked unnecessary questions, never made small talk, just did her job and disappeared. But Jonathan kept catching her looking at him, not in the way some of his previous secretaries had. That calculating look that said they'd done the math on his net worth and decided he was worth pursuing. No, Claire's looks were different. Curious, almost sad, like she was searching for something in his face and couldn't quite find it. It bothered him more than it should have. On Friday afternoon, Jonathan returned from a particularly exhausting meeting with the board. They'd spent 3 hours arguing about a merger that would probably fall through anyway, and his head was pounding. He pushed open his office door, already thinking about the scotch in his desk drawer, and stopped short. Claire was standing by his desk, reviewing some documents. Nothing unusual about that, but her purse sat open on the chair beside her, and from where Jonathan stood, he could see inside it. There, tucked into the edge of an old leather wallet, was a photograph. Jonathan's breath caught. He moved closer, drawn by something he couldn't explain. His heart started beating faster. The photograph was small, creased and faded with age, but he could see it clearly. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, wearing a yellow dress with flowers on it. She was smiling at the camera, standing in front of a rusty swing set, and around her neck hung a silver pendant shaped like a butterfly. The world tilted. Jonathan gripped the edge of his desk, his knuckles turning white. He knew that photograph. He'd taken that photograph, A Sunday afternoon at the city park, the summer before the accident, before everything ended. It was the last happy memory he had. "Where did you get that?" The words came out strangled, barely audible. Claire looked up. Startled, she saw his face. Pale, eyes wide, hands shaking, and fear flickered across her features. She reached for the photograph, pressing it against her chest protectively. It's mine," she said, her voice small. "Where did you get it?" Jonathan repeated, louder this time. He couldn't breathe properly. The room felt too hot, too small. "Who gave that to you?" Claire backed up a step, clutching the photo tighter, her eyes filled with tears. "Nobody gave it to me. It's the only picture I have from when I was a child." "That's not possible." Jonathan's voice cracked. "That's not... Who are you? Who are you really? I don't understand. Answer me." He slammed his hand on the desk, and Claire flinched. Jonathan immediately felt guilty, but he couldn't stop, couldn't think. "Where did you get that photograph?" "I don't know." The tears spilled over now, running down Claire's cheeks. "I grew up in an orphanage in Querétaro. They told me they found me wandering alone on a highway when I was 5. I didn't remember anything. No name, no family, nothing. Just this photo in my pocket and..." Her voice broke, and this feeling like something was missing, like I'd lost something important and couldn't remember what it was. Jonathan stared at her, really looked at her. The dark eyes, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking, that habit she had of touching her neck, right where a necklace would hang, the way certain words sounded when she said them, the slight lilt that reminded him of Catherine, of Emily's mother. His legs gave out. Jonathan sank into his chair, his whole body trembling. This wasn't possible. Emily was dead. He'd mourned her for 18 years. He'd scattered her ashes, or what Margaret had told him were her ashes, next to Catherine's grave. Margaret, his second wife, the woman who'd been there through the darkest period of his life, who'd handled all the arrangements after the accident, who'd told him with tears in her own eyes that Emily hadn't survived. But now, looking at this young woman with his daughter's photograph, Jonathan felt something crack open inside his chest. A terrible, desperate hope mixed with 18 years of grief. Claire was still crying, confused and scared. She didn't understand why her boss was falling apart in front of her. She just knew that somehow, that old photograph had broken something in him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to upset you. I'll go." "No." Jonathan held up a shaking hand. "Stay, please, I need a minute." Outside, the rain had stopped. The city was washing itself clean. And inside Jonathan Reed's office, the impossible was beginning to feel terrifyingly real. Claire didn't leave. She stood frozen near the desk, the photograph still clutched in her hand, watching her boss struggle to compose himself. She'd worked for difficult men before, demanding, quick to anger, impossible to please. But this was different. Jonathan Reed looked like he'd seen a ghost. "I'm sorry," she said again, softer this time. "I don't understand what's happening." Jonathan took a deep breath, then another. His hands were still shaking, so he pressed them flat against the desk. "That photograph, can I see it, please?" Claire hesitated. The photo was precious to her, the only link to a past she couldn't remember. But something in Jonathan's voice made her step forward. She placed the worn picture on the desk between them, her fingers lingering on its edges before she pulled away. Jonathan stared at it, his vision blurred with tears. He refused to let fall. Every detail was exactly as he remembered. The yellow dress with tiny flowers. Catherine had bought it at a street fair. The swing set in the background. That old park on the west side of the city, demolished years ago to make room for condos. And the necklace. God, the necklace. The butterfly pendant, he said, his voice hoarse. "Do you still have it?" Claire shook her head. "I've never had it, just the picture. I used to tell myself stories about it when I was little, that maybe my mother gave it to me, that maybe she was looking for me." She laughed bitterly. "Stupid kid fantasies. What else do you remember from before the orphanage?" "Nothing." Claire wrapped her arms around herself. "I've tried. I spent years trying. The earliest thing I can recall is waking up in a hospital room. There was a social worker there. She asked me my name, and I couldn't tell her. Couldn't tell her anything. It was like my mind was just empty. Jonathan pulled out his phone with trembling fingers. He scrolled through his photos. He kept them all backed up, organized by year. He found what he was looking for and held the screen out to Claire. "Is this the same picture?" Claire leaned in to look. Her breath caught. It was the same image, but crystal clear, not creased or faded. The original. "Where did you get this?" "I took it." Jonathan's voice cracked on the last word. 18 years ago, in May, my daughter Emily loved that park. We went there every weekend that spring. The room tilted. Claire grabbed the edge of the desk to steady herself. "Your daughter. She died in a car accident. Her and her mother both. Or at least..." Jonathan stood abruptly, moving to the window. He couldn't look at Claire right now. Couldn't let himself hope. "That's what I was told. I don't understand." Claire's voice was shaking now too. "Are you saying that you think That's impossible. Your daughter died. You said so yourself." "I know what I said." Jonathan spun around. "But I also know that photograph. I know that dress, that necklace, that exact moment in time. And I know that you're standing in my office right now with a copy of a picture that only existed in my family's photo albums." Claire backed away. This was crazy. She was nobody. Just a secretary trying to make rent, trying to build some kind of normal life from the wreckage of a childhood she couldn't remember. She wasn't some rich man's long-lost daughter. That kind of thing didn't happen in real life. "I should go," she said. It's too much. I'm sorry about your daughter, Mr. Reed. I really am, but I can't be her. I can't be what you're looking for." "Wait." Jonathan moved toward her, then stopped himself. He was scaring her. "Just let me ask you something. The orphanage in Querétaro, what was it called?" "Casa de Esperanza, House of Hope." Claire's hand went to her throat, to that spot where a necklace would rest, an unconscious gesture. "Why?" "And they really didn't have any information about your family. No records, no names, nothing. They said I was a Jane Doe, that I'd been found on Highway 57, wandering alone. The police searched for weeks, but nobody claimed me. No missing persons reports matched. It was like I just appeared out of nowhere." Claire's eyes were swimming with unshed tears. "I used to dream about my real family coming back for me. Every time someone came to the orphanage, I'd think maybe this time, maybe today, but nobody ever came." Jonathan felt something break inside his chest. "I looked for you," he whispered. "After the accident, I hired investigators. I spent months searching, but Margaret, my second wife, she handled most of it. She said the authorities confirmed the identifications, that there was no doubt." He laughed, a bitter sound. "I was a mess back then, could barely get out of bed. I trusted her to handle things." "Maybe she was telling you the truth," Claire said. "Maybe your daughter really did die, and I'm just some girl who happened to have a similar picture. Coincidences happen." "Do they?" Jonathan pulled the silver pendant from his pocket. "Catherine, my first wife, wore this every day. I gave it to Emily right before the accident. She was so excited, kept showing it to everyone. It was the last gift I ever gave her." Claire stared at the butterfly pendant, mesmerized. Something stirred in the depths of her mind. Not quite a memory, more like an echo of one. A woman's voice, warm and loving. The weight of something cool against her collarbone. The feeling of being safe, being loved, being home. Then it was gone, slipping away before she could grasp it. "I need to go," she said abruptly. She grabbed her purse, shoving the photograph back into her wallet. "I'm sorry. This is all just... I can't. Claire, please." But she was already moving, practically running toward the door. Jonathan wanted to stop her, wanted to make her stay and talk this through. But what could he say? That he thought she was his dead daughter based on a photograph and a feeling. She'd think he was insane. Hell, maybe he was insane. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Jonathan sank back into his chair, the pendant still clutched in his fist. The office felt enormous and empty. Through the windows, the city sparkled in the post-rain light, beautiful and indifferent. He pulled up his contacts and scrolled until he found the name he was looking for. Richard Moss, the best private investigator in the state. Jonathan had used him before, for corporate espionage cases and background checks on potential business partners. His finger hovered over the call button. This was crazy. Claire was right. Coincidences happened. The world was full of strange synchronicities that meant nothing. He was seeing connections where there were none, driven by 18 years of grief and guilt. But then he remembered the way Claire touched her throat, the tilt of her head, those eyes that looked so much like Catherine's, the way she'd said House of Hope, with a slight accent, pronouncing the Spanish exactly the way Emily used to pronounce new words. Carefully, like she was tasting them, Jonathan pressed the call button. Richard answered on the second ring. "Reed, been a while. What do you need?" "I need you to investigate someone," Jonathan said. His voice was steady now, decided, "and I need you to do it quietly. No paper trail." "Sounds serious." "It is." Jonathan looked at the photograph still displayed on his phone screen. Emily, frozen forever at 5 years old, smiling in the sunshine. "I need you to find out everything you can about a woman named Claire Bennett, 23 years old, works as my secretary, says she grew up in Casa de Esperanza orphanage in Querétaro. You want background, financials, the works, everything." "But Richard," Jonathan's grip tightened on the pendant, "I also need you to get me a DNA sample. Hair, coffee cup, whatever you can manage. And I need it compared against mine." There was a pause. "Reed, what exactly are you looking for here?" Jonathan closed his eyes. The truth, whatever that turns out to be. After he hung up, Jonathan sat alone in his office as the afternoon faded into evening. The city lights began to flicker on below. Millions of lives being lived, millions of stories unfolding. Somewhere out there, Claire Bennett was going home, probably still shaken, probably thinking her boss had lost his mind. Maybe he had, or maybe, just maybe, he'd found something he thought he'd lost forever. Jonathan didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling of his penthouse bedroom, while Margaret slept peacefully beside him. Her breathing soft and even. The silk sheets felt suffocating. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that photograph. Emily's smile, the yellow dress, the butterfly pendant catching the sunlight. At 3 a.m, he gave up. He slipped out of bed and went to his study, closing the door quietly behind him. The room was his sanctuary, lined with mahogany bookshelves and expensive first editions he never read. But what he wanted wasn't on the shelves. Jonathan opened the bottom drawer of his desk and pulled out a wooden box. He hadn't touched it in years. Dust coated the lid. Inside were the remnants of his first life, the one before Margaret, before the accident reshaped him into someone harder, someone who didn't feel as much. Photographs spilled across his desk. Catherine on their wedding day, radiant in white lace. Catherine pregnant, one hand on her swollen belly, laughing at something off camera. Emily as a newborn, impossibly tiny in his arms. Emily taking her first steps. Emily blowing out candles on her 4th birthday cake, her face scrunched up in concentration. And there, the original of the photograph Claire carried. He'd kept a print for himself. Along with the digital file, Emily at the park, wearing that yellow dress, the pendant gleaming at her throat. Jonathan's hands trembled as he picked it up. He remembered that day with painful clarity. Catherine had packed a picnic. Sandwiches and lemonade and those butter cookies Emily loved. They'd spent hours at the park, Emily on the swings, begging him to push her higher, higher, laughing with pure joy. Catherine spreading a blanket under an oak tree, smiling at them both with such love it hurt to remember. It was the last perfect day they'd had together. 2 weeks later, Catherine took Emily to visit her mother upstate. Jonathan had stayed behind for an important meeting, one he'd regretted for 18 years. They never made it to Catherine's mother's house. A semi-truck crossed the median on I-87, head-on collision. The truck driver walked away with minor injuries. Catherine and Emily didn't walk away at all, or so he'd been told. Jonathan set the photograph down and reached for his phone. He pulled up the details Richard had sent earlier. Claire's employment records, tax returns, rental history. Everything was clean, ordinary, no red flags. Just a young woman working her way through life, moving from job to job, never quite settling anywhere. But it was the orphanage records that made his breath catch. Richard had managed to get his hands on Claire's intake file from Casa de Esperanza, the date she'd been found. June 15th, 2007, 3 weeks after the accident. 3 weeks. Location: Highway 57 between Querétaro and San Luis Potosí. Approximate age: 5 years old. Physical description: dark hair, dark eyes, approximately 40 inches tall, wearing pink t-shirt, denim shorts, one white sneaker, no identification. No family came forward. Jonathan's mind raced. The accident had been on I-87 in New York, but if someone had taken Emily, driven south across the border into Mexico, it would take time, planning, resources. It would take someone who knew what they were doing. His office door opened. Margaret stood in the doorway wearing a silk robe, her blonde hair perfectly arranged even at this ungodly hour. She'd always been like that. Put together, controlled, never a hair out of place. "Darling, what are you doing up?" She moved into the room, her eyes scanning the photographs scattered across his desk. Something flickered in her expression, too quick to read. "Are those—" Just couldn't sleep. Jonathan quickly gathered the photos, sliding them back into the box. But Margaret had already seen them, had seen Catherine, seen Emily. "You've been distant lately." Margaret perched on the edge of his desk, one leg crossed over the other. "Is something wrong? Work stress?" "Nothing's wrong." The lie came easily, too easily. "Just the Singapore deal." "It's complicated." Margaret studied him with those cool blue eyes. They'd been married for 15 years, and sometimes Jonathan wondered if she'd ever really known him, if he'd ever really let her. Their marriage had been born from grief and convenience, his need for someone to help him function, her willingness to step into that role. They worked well together, managed the household efficiently, attended charity galas as the perfect power couple. But it wasn't love, not like what he'd had with Catherine. "The new secretary," Margaret said suddenly. "Claire, how's she working out?" Jonathan's pulse quickened. "Fine. Why?" "No reason. I saw her name on some expense reports. Just curious." Margaret smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You've gone through so many assistants lately. I hope this one lasts." "She's competent." "I'm sure she is." Margaret stood, smoothing her robe. "Come back to bed, Jonathan. You need rest. You look exhausted." After she left, Jonathan sat in the darkness for a long time. He thought about Margaret's presence at the hospital after the accident, the way she'd handled everything, identifying the bodies, arranging the funeral, dealing with the insurance companies and lawyers. She'd been a rock when he was falling apart, barely able to stand. He'd trusted her completely, but now doubt crept in like poison. Had there been bodies to identify? Had Margaret actually seen them? Or had she just told him she had, knowing he was too broken to verify anything himself? The next morning, Jonathan arrived at the office early. Claire was already there, organizing files with the same quiet efficiency she'd shown all week. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes. She didn't meet his gaze when he said good morning. "Claire?" he said gently. "About yesterday. I'd rather not discuss it, Mr. Reed." Her voice was professional, distant. "If that's all right." "Of course." Jonathan paused at his office door. "But I want you to know I didn't mean to upset you. It's fine." She finally looked at him, and he saw the walls she'd built overnight. "We all have our grief. I understand that, but I can't be part of yours." She turned back to her computer, effectively dismissing him. Jonathan went into his office and closed the door. He understood her reaction. She thought he was a grieving father projecting his lost daughter onto a stranger. She was probably right to be cautious, but he couldn't let it go. His phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Got the sample. Hair from her desk. Sending to lab today. Results in 48 to 72 hours. Jonathan's heart hammered. This was real. He was actually doing this. Throughout the day, he watched Claire through his office window. Little things he hadn't noticed before jumped out at him. The way she bit her lower lip when concentrating. Emily used to do that. The slight limp in her right leg, barely noticeable. Emily had fallen off the monkey bars a month before the accident. Twisted her ankle. The doctor said it might cause problems later. And her handwriting, when she brought him documents to sign. He noticed the way she wrote her capital E's. With a little flourish at the bottom, Catherine had tried to teach Emily to write her name that way. He'd found practice sheets in her room after the accident, page after page of wobbly E's with that same flourish. It could all be coincidence. Jonathan knew that. The human mind was designed to find patterns, even where none existed. He was seeing what he wanted to see. But what if he wasn't? What if Emily was alive? What if she'd been out there all these years, alone and scared, growing up in an orphanage while he mourned a death that never happened? And if that was true, if someone had taken his daughter and made him believe she was dead, then there was only one person who'd been in a position to make that happen: Margaret, his wife of 15 years. The woman who slept beside him every night. The woman he'd trusted with everything. Jonathan looked down at his hands. They were shaking again. 48 to 72 hours. That's all he had to wait. Then he'd know the truth. Whatever that truth turned out to be. Margaret Reed stood in her husband's office, running her fingers along the edge of his mahogany desk. It was Tuesday afternoon, and she'd told Jonathan she had a spa appointment. Instead, she'd come here, to the building where her carefully constructed life was beginning to crack. She'd seen the way Jonathan looked at that girl, Claire Bennett, the new secretary with her worn shoes and haunted eyes. Margaret had built empires on her ability to read people, to anticipate threats before they materialized, and Claire Bennett was a threat. "Mrs. Reed," the receptionist looked up nervously. "Mr. Reed isn't in right now. He's at a lunch meeting downtown." "I know," Margaret smiled, the practiced warmth she'd perfected over decades. "I'm just going to wait in his office. Don't let me disturb you." "Dear." She closed the door behind her and went straight to Jonathan's desk. The drawers were locked, but she'd had copies of his keys made years ago. Insurance, she'd told herself, just in case. The wooden box was still there, pushed to the back of the bottom drawer. Her stomach tightened when she saw it. Jonathan hadn't opened that box in over a decade. She'd thought he'd finally moved on, finally let go of his precious Catherine and their perfect little family. But the dust had been disturbed recently. Margaret pulled out the photographs, her jaw clenching as she looked at Catherine's smiling face. Even dead for 18 years, the woman still haunted her marriage. Jonathan had never looked at Margaret the way he'd looked at Catherine in these pictures, like she was his entire world, like nothing else mattered. Margaret had loved Jonathan once. Maybe she still did, in her own way, but love had never been enough. She'd needed security, status, the life that came with being Mrs. Jonathan Reed, and she'd been willing to do whatever it took to get it. Even the unthinkable. Her phone buzzed, a text from her private investigator, different from the one Jonathan used. More discreet, she'd hired him the moment she'd seen Jonathan's reaction to Claire. Background check complete. Claire Bennett, age 23. Found at Casa de Esperanza Orphanage, Querétaro, June 2007. Age 5. No family records. Employment history attached. Margaret's hands trembled as she read. June 2007. The timing was exactly right. She'd been so careful, so meticulous. The accident had been easy enough to arrange. A bribed truck driver. Bad weather. A dangerous stretch of highway. Catherine's death had been necessary. The woman would never have left Jonathan, and Jonathan would never have left her. Not willingly, but the child had been Margaret's mistake. She'd planned to eliminate Emily too. Quick, painless, both of them gone in an instant. But when Margaret arrived at the scene, she'd followed the ambulances, playing the concerned family friend. She'd found Emily unconscious, but alive in the wreckage. Catherine was already dead. In that moment, Margaret had made a choice. Killing a grown woman in a staged accident was one thing. Murdering a 5-year-old child in cold blood was another. Even she had limits. So she'd made other arrangements. A doctor willing to falsify death certificates for the right price. A morgue attendant who looked the other way. She'd driven Emily, still unconscious, across the border into Mexico. Found an orphanage far enough from the border that no one would connect a lost child to a car accident in New York. She'd told herself she was being merciful. The child would live, just far away where she couldn't interfere, where Jonathan would never find her. For 18 years, it had worked. Margaret's office door opened. She quickly shoved the photographs back into the box, her heart racing, but it was just the cleaning staff. "Oh, Mrs. Reed, I'm sorry, I can come back." "No, it's fine. I was just leaving." Margaret stood, smoothing her dress. Her composure was back, the mask firmly in place. She left the building and drove home to their mansion in the suburbs. The house was too large for 2 people, but Margaret had insisted image mattered. The right address, the right car, the right clubs. These things defined who you were in their social circle, in her private study. Margaret unlocked a drawer that even Jonathan didn't know about. Inside was a thick folder labeled insurance. Copies of every document related to the accident. The falsified death certificates. The bribes. The payments to the orphanage to keep quiet and never investigate the mystery child too closely. Also in the folder, photographs. Ones she'd taken herself over the years, making sure her secret stayed buried. Surveillance photos of Casa de Esperanza, of Emily growing up. Though she didn't know that's who the child was, Margaret had needed to keep tabs, to make sure the girl stayed put and never remembered. Looking at those photos now, Margaret could see it clearly. The resemblance to Catherine. The same dark eyes. The same smile. How had Jonathan not recognized her immediately? Because he thought Emily was dead. Because Margaret had made certain he never had reason to doubt it. But now he was doubting. She'd seen it in his face when he looked at Claire. The hope. The terrible, desperate hope that maybe, somehow, his daughter was alive. Margaret's phone rang. "Jonathan." "Darling," she answered smoothly. "How was your meeting?" "Long, boring, the usual." He sounded distracted. "Listen, I'm going to work late tonight. Don't wait up." "Of course. I'll have Rosa leave you a plate in the warmer." After hanging up, Margaret stared at her phone. Jonathan was lying, she could always tell. He wasn't working late. He was investigating, digging into Claire's background, looking for proof of what his heart was already telling him. She needed to act fast. Margaret pulled up her investigator's number, then hesitated. What exactly was she going to do? She couldn't make Claire disappear, not without raising suspicions. Not with Jonathan already watching the girl so closely. She needed a different approach, something subtle. An idea formed. Claire was vulnerable, poor, alone, no family to protect her. It would be easy to make her uncomfortable, to make her want to leave. A few well-placed rumors, some professional sabotage, maybe a suggestion that she was trying to seduce her wealthy boss, that she was a gold digger looking for a payout. Margaret had destroyed reputations before. This would be no different. She made the call. "I need you to do something for me," she told her investigator. "The girl, Claire Bennett. I want her discredited. Start spreading rumors at her workplace. She's unprofessional, unreliable, possibly stealing. Make people doubt her. You want her fired. Eventually. But more importantly, I want her to feel isolated, unwelcome. I want her to quit on her own and leave town." Margaret's voice hardened. "Can you do that? Consider it done." That night, Margaret lay awake while Jonathan slept fitfully beside her. She thought about the girl she'd left at that orphanage 18 years ago. Had she cried for her father? Had she wondered why he never came for her? Margaret pushed the thoughts away. She'd made her choice long ago. Emily was supposed to stay buried in the past. A sad memory that kept Jonathan dependent on Margaret's strength and support. She wouldn't lose everything because of one careless coincidence. In the darkness, Margaret's hand found Jonathan's across the sheets. He didn't stir, didn't know that the woman lying beside him had destroyed his family, had stolen his daughter, had built their entire marriage on a foundation of lies and manipulation, and she intended to keep it that way, whatever it took. The whispers started on Wednesday morning. Claire arrived at work to find 2 colleagues from accounting huddled near the break room. Their conversation stopping abruptly when they saw her, they exchanged glances and hurried away without their usual friendly greetings. She told herself she was imagining things, but then it happened again with the receptionist, and again with someone from legal. By noon, Claire knew something was wrong. "The Hutchinson file is missing," her supervisor Patricia said coldly, standing over Claire's desk with her arms crossed. "You were the last person to handle it. I filed it yesterday. 3rd drawer under H." Claire opened the drawer to prove it, but the folder wasn't there. Her stomach dropped. "I swear it was right here. This is unacceptable, Claire. That file contains sensitive merger documents. If it's leaked to competitors, I didn't lose it. I would never. I also heard you've been arriving late and leaving early." Patricia's tone was clipped, professional, but with an edge Claire had never heard before. "Is there something going on we should know about?" I've been here on time every day. Claire's voice shook. I don't understand what's happening. Neither do I. But you're on probation as of now. One more incident and you're gone. Patricia walked away, leaving Claire sitting at her desk in stunned silence. Her hands trembled as she searched through the drawers again, desperate to find the missing file. It had to be here. She remembered filing it. Remembered double-checking the label. Rough morning. Claire looked up to find David from it leaning against her cubicle wall. He was smiling, but there was something unpleasant in his expression. Just a misunderstanding, she said quietly. Yeah, I heard about that. I also heard some other stuff. David lowered his voice conspiratorially. Look, I'm just going to be straight with you. People are talking about you and Mr. Reed. Claire's blood ran cold. What? Come on, you're his personal secretary. Young, pretty, he's rich, powerful, going through some kind of midlife crisis apparently. People notice things the way he looks at you, how much time you spend alone in his office. There's nothing, we haven't... Claire stood up abruptly, her chair rolling backward. That's completely inappropriate and untrue. David held up his hands. Hey, I'm just telling you what people are saying. Thought you'd want to know. He walked away, leaving Claire standing there, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under her. This couldn't be happening. She'd worked so hard to build her reputation, to prove she was more than just another orphanage kid with no prospects. And now, after 1 week, everything was falling apart. The rest of the day was a nightmare. Documents she'd prepared had mysteriously disappeared from the shared drive. An important client called to complain about a meeting Claire had allegedly canceled without authorization, except she'd never canceled anything. Her computer password stopped working, locking her out of essential files, and everywhere she went, people stared, whispered, judged. By 5 o'clock, Claire was fighting back tears. She grabbed her purse and headed for the elevator, keeping her eyes down. She just needed to get home, to her tiny apartment where she could fall apart in private. Claire, wait! Jonathan's voice stopped her at the elevator doors. She didn't turn around. Not now, Mr. Reed, please. I heard what happened today. The missing files. The rumors. He moved closer, lowering his voice. None of it's true. I know you didn't lose that file. And the other accusations are ridiculous. It doesn't matter what's true. Claire finally looked at him, and he saw the tears she was holding back. People believe what they want to believe. And right now, they believe I'm either incompetent or sleeping with my boss for favors. I'll talk to HR. I'll make this right. You'll make it worse. The tears spilled over now. Don't you see? If you defend me, it just proves what they're saying. The powerful boss protecting his favorite. I can't win this. The elevator doors opened. Claire stepped inside, and Jonathan watched helplessly as they closed between them. That evening, Claire sat in her apartment staring at the rejection letter from the nursing program she'd applied to. Not enough funds, it said. Try again next year. She'd been trying for 3 years. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Claire Bennett. A man's voice. Unfamiliar. Yes. You don't know me, but I'm a friend. I think you should quit your job and leave town, tonight if possible. Claire's grip tightened on the phone. Who is this? Someone who knows things. About Jonathan Reed. About his dead daughter. About the questions he's been asking. A pause. You look like her. You know, the daughter. It's why he hired you. It's why he's obsessed with you. But it's not healthy. For either of you. How did you get this number? Leave town, Claire. There's nothing for you here but trouble. Find a new job somewhere else. Start fresh. Trust me. It's better for everyone. The line went dead. Claire sat frozen, her heart racing. This was insane. Who was that? How did they know about the photograph? About Jonathan's suspicions? A knock at her door made her jump. Through the peephole, she saw a delivery man with a large envelope. Claire Bennett, registered delivery. She signed for it with shaking hands. Inside was a plane ticket to Seattle and $5,000 in cash. No note, no explanation. Someone wanted her gone, badly enough to pay for it. Claire looked around her cramped studio apartment, at the thrift store furniture and the water stain on the ceiling her landlord refused to fix, at the stack of bills on her counter, the past due notices she'd been avoiding, $5,000 would change her life. A fresh start in a new city, away from the whispers and the strange conspiracy swirling around her. It would be so easy to just go. But something stopped her. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was the same instinct that had kept her alive through years in the orphanage, that had taught her to fight instead of run. Or maybe it was the memory of Jonathan's face when he'd seen that photograph, the desperate hope in his eyes, the way he'd looked at her like she was the answer to 18 years of prayers. Claire picked up her phone and dialed. "Mr. Reed, it's Claire. We need to talk. About everything." Across town, Margaret Reed stood at her bedroom window, watching the city lights. Her phone rang. Her investigator. "The package was delivered," he said, "but she's not taking the bait. She just called Reed." Margaret's jaw clenched. "Then we moved to plan B. You sure about this? It's risky. Just do it. Tomorrow night, make it look random. A mugging gone wrong. Scare her enough that she runs on her own." Margaret's voice was ice. "Don't hurt her seriously. Just enough to send the message." She hung up and turned to find Jonathan standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Who was that?" he asked. "Just the event planner for the charity gala next month." The lie came smoothly. "Why are you home early?" "Meeting got canceled." Jonathan studied her face, looking for something. "Margaret, can I ask you something?" Her heart rate quickened. "Of course. After the accident, when you identified the bodies, did you actually see Emily? Or did you just take the medical examiner's word for it?" The question hung between them like a blade. Margaret forced herself to meet his eyes, to keep her expression sympathetic and confused. "Jonathan, what's this about? Why are you asking this now? Just answer the question." Margaret moved closer, taking his hands in hers. "I saw her, darling. I know how hard this is to accept. But yes, I saw her. I saw both of them. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But I did it, so you wouldn't have to carry that burden." She watched his face carefully. He wanted to believe her. After 18 years of trusting her with his grief, with his life, he wanted to believe, but there was doubt now. She could see it in his eyes. And doubt, Margaret knew, was a dangerous thing. Jonathan met Claire at a quiet coffee shop 3 blocks from his office. It was nearly 8 p.m., and the place was almost empty except for a college student hunched over a laptop in the corner. Claire looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands shook slightly as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. "Thank you for meeting me," Jonathan said. "I know today was rough. Someone sent me a plane ticket to Seattle," Claire said abruptly, "and $5,000 cash, told me to leave town and start over." Jonathan's blood ran cold. "What? Who? Anonymous? The delivery came right after I got a phone call warning me to quit and disappear." She looked at him steadily. "Mr. Reed, what's really going on? And please don't tell me it's nothing, because we both know that's not true." Jonathan took a deep breath. This was it, the moment to either tell her everything or let her walk away. He pulled out his phone and showed her the photograph he'd been carrying for 18 years. "This is my daughter, Emily. She was 5 years old when she died. Or when I thought she died." His voice cracked. "The accident happened on May 23, 2007. My wife Catherine was driving upstate to visit her mother. A truck crossed the median. The police said they died instantly." Claire stared at the photo. Then at her own worn copy sitting on the table between them. "My second wife, Margaret, handled everything. I wasn't functional. Couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't think straight. She identified the bodies, arranged the funerals, dealt with all the legal paperwork." Jonathan's hands clenched into fists. "I trusted her completely. But now you don't. Now I'm not sure." He met Claire's eyes. "You were found 3 weeks after the accident, on a highway in Mexico. The same age Emily would have been, with a photograph that only existed in my family's albums." Claire was quiet for a long moment. "You think I'm her, your daughter. I think it's possible. More than possible." Jonathan pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. "I hired an investigator. He got a DNA sample. Hair from your desk. I had it compared to mine. The results came back this afternoon." The envelope sat between them, unopened. Claire stared at it like it might explode. "I haven't looked yet," Jonathan admitted. "Because once I open this, everything changes. Either you're a stranger who happens to have the worst coincidence in history, or you're my daughter who I've been mourning for 18 years. Either way, nothing will ever be the same. Then why are you showing me? Because this is your life too. Your truth. You have a right to know before I do. He slid the envelope across the table. Open it. Claire's hand trembled as she reached for it. She held the envelope for a long moment, feeling its weight. Inside was an answer to questions she'd been asking her entire life. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why was I alone? She tore it open. The document was dense with technical language. Percentages and genetic markers that meant nothing to her. But at the bottom, highlighted in yellow, was a single sentence. Probability of paternity. 99.97%. The paper slipped from Claire's fingers. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The coffee shop tilted around her, and for a moment she thought she might pass out. Claire. Jonathan's voice sounded far away. Are you okay? She wasn't okay. She would never be okay again, because that number, 99.97%, meant that everything she thought she knew about herself was a lie. I'm your daughter, she whispered. The words felt impossible in her mouth. I'm Emily. Jonathan's face crumpled. Tears streamed down his cheeks as 18 years of grief and guilt and desperate hope crashed over him all at once. He reached across the table, taking her hands in his. I looked for you, he choked out. God, I looked everywhere. I never stopped missing you, not for a single day. Emily, because that's who she was now, Emily Reed, not Claire Bennett, felt something breaking open inside her chest. Memories that weren't quite memories, more like shadows of feelings. A man's laugh, strong arms lifting her up, a voice singing her to sleep. I don't remember you, she said, and the words came out like an apology. I'm sorry. I should remember, but I don't. It's okay. It's not your fault. Jonathan squeezed her hands tighter. We'll figure it out. The coffee shop door burst open. Richard Moss, Jonathan's investigator, rushed in, his face urgent. Reed, we have a problem. He glanced at Emily, then back to Jonathan. There's a man following you. Has been for the past 2 days. Professional. I spotted him outside your office, then again near your house. Tonight he followed you here. Jonathan went rigid. Who hired him? I'm working on it, but there's more. Richard pulled out his phone, showing them a photo of Margaret entering a building downtown. Your wife met with someone this afternoon, Marcus Chen. He's a fixer. Handles things for people who can't get their hands dirty if you need documents forged, evidence destroyed, problem solved. Chen's your guy. The pieces clicked into place. Margaret knew. Somehow she knew that Jonathan was getting close to the truth, and she was trying to stop him. The plane ticket, Emily said quietly. The money, the threats. That was her. Probably. Richard's expression was grim. And if she's desperate enough to hire Chen, this could get dangerous, for both of you. Jonathan stood abruptly. I need to go home. I need to confront her. Not tonight. Richard grabbed his arm. You go home now, angry and emotional. You'll tip your hand. She'll know you have proof. Could make things worse. Then what do I do? Just pretend everything's normal while she tries to make my daughter disappear again. We build a case, get everything documented. The DNA results, the orphanage records, proof of the bribes. Then we go to the police with everything at once. Richard looked at Emily. You need to stay somewhere safe. Not your apartment. Somewhere she can't find you. She can stay with me? Jonathan said immediately. Bad idea. That's the first place they'll look. Richard thought for a moment. I have a safe house. Corporate clients use it sometimes. Nobody knows about it except me. Emily felt like she was drowning. 24 hours ago, she'd been Claire Bennett, a secretary struggling to make rent. Now she was Emily Reed, the supposedly dead daughter of a billionaire, caught in the middle of a conspiracy she didn't understand. Why? She asked, her voice breaking. Why would she do this? Why take me away from my father? Why make everyone think I was dead? Jonathan's jaw clenched. Because she wanted the life that came with being my wife. The money, the status, the position. And I would never have married her if you and your mother were still alive. The cruelty of it hit Emily like a physical blow. She'd spent 18 years alone. Scared, confused, thinking nobody wanted her. Because one woman decided a little girl's life was worth less than a mansion and a bank account. I want to remember, Emily said fiercely. I want to remember my mother, our family, everything she took from me. You will. Jonathan's voice was thick with emotion. I'll help you. I have photos, videos, your mother's journals. We'll rebuild what was stolen. Richard cleared his throat. Touching reunion, but we need to move now. If Chen's man is outside, we're sitting ducks here. They left through the back exit, Richard leading them through alleys to where he'd parked his car 3 blocks away. As they drove to the safe house, Emily stared out the window at the city lights, trying to process everything. She had a father, a real father who'd been looking for her, who'd never stopped grieving. She had a mother who'd loved her, even if she couldn't remember her face. And she had an enemy, a woman who'd destroyed her family and would probably do anything to keep that secret buried. The safe house was a modest apartment in a building that looked like any other. Richard handed Jonathan the keys. Stay here tonight. Don't tell anyone where you are. I'll start working on getting the evidence compiled. He looked at Jonathan seriously. This is going to get messy. Margaret's not going to go down without a fight. You ready for that? Jonathan looked at Emily, his daughter, found after 18 years, and something hardened in his expression. I'm ready for whatever it takes. After Richard left, Jonathan and Emily sat in the unfamiliar apartment, the weight of 18 lost years between them. I used to dream about this, Emily said quietly. Someone coming to the orphanage and saying there'd been a mistake, that I had a family after all, that someone was looking for me. I'm so sorry. Jonathan's voice broke. I should have known, should have checked myself instead of trusting. Don't. Emily reached out and took his hand. We can't change what happened. We can only decide what happens next. Jonathan squeezed her hand, feeling the reality of her. Solid, alive, here, his daughter, his Emily. Tomorrow, he said, we make Margaret answer for what she's done. Jonathan spent the next 3 days preparing, not just gathering evidence, but steeling himself for what was coming. Richard had compiled everything into a damning portfolio. DNA results, orphanage records showing Emily's intake date, financial records of payments Margaret made to Marcus Chen, even surveillance photos of her meeting with the fixer. But the most devastating evidence was the falsified death certificate. Richard had tracked down the medical examiner who'd signed it, a man who'd lost his license years later for similar corruption. For the right price, he'd admitted everything on a recorded phone call. There had never been a second body. Only Catherine had died in that crash. Now, on Saturday evening, Jonathan stood in his own dining room preparing to destroy his marriage and expose the woman who'd stolen 18 years from him. The table was set for 5. Himself, Margaret, Emily, Richard, and Gerald Hoffman. Jonathan's attorney, a sharp man in his 60s who specialized in criminal law. They decided to do this privately first, give Margaret one chance to confess before they went to the authorities. Margaret arrived home at 6, fresh from her weekly tennis game at the club. She stopped in the dining room doorway, taking in the formal table settings with confusion. Darling, what's all this? I thought we were having a quiet evening. We need to talk. Jonathan's voice was calm, controlled. I've invited some people over. They'll be here soon. People, what people? Margaret's eyes narrowed. Jonathan, what's going on? The doorbell rang before he could answer. Jonathan went to let in Richard and Gerald, then walked to the safe house down the street where Emily had been staying. She looked terrified but determined, wearing a simple blue dress that reminded Jonathan achingly of Catherine. When they entered the dining room together, Margaret went pale. What is she doing here? Margaret's voice was sharp. Jonathan, I don't understand. Sit down. Margaret. Jonathan pulled out a chair at the head of the table. Please. Something in his tone made her comply. Gerald and Richard sat across from her, and Emily took the seat beside Jonathan. The arrangement was deliberate. Margaret surrounded. Outnumbered, Jonathan opened the portfolio and placed the DNA results in front of Margaret. This is a paternity test, he said quietly. Mine and Claire's, or should I say, mine and Emily's, because that's who she is, Margaret. Our daughter, the daughter you told me died 18 years ago. Margaret stared at the paper, her face carefully blank. That's ridiculous. Emily died in the accident. I identified her body myself. No, you didn't. Jonathan placed the next document down, the medical examiner's confession. Dr. Robert Marsh admitted that he falsified the death certificate. You paid him $30,000 to declare a child dead who was never in that morgue. This is insane, Jonathan. You're not thinking clearly. Here's the intake form from Casa de Esperanza Orphanage in Querétaro. Another paper. A 5-year-old girl, found wandering Highway 57 on June 15, 2007, 3 weeks after the accident. Dark hair, dark eyes, no identification. Jonathan's voice was getting harder. Want to guess who made anonymous donations to that orphanage for years? Substantial donations. With one condition, that they never investigate the mystery child too closely. Margaret's composure was cracking. Her hands gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. And here, Richard added, sliding his own evidence across, are records of your meetings with Marcus Chen. Phone records, financial transfers, surveillance photos. You hired him to make Claire, Emily, disappear. Again, I was protecting you. Margaret's voice rose, desperate now. Protecting us. This girl shows up out of nowhere with some old photograph and you lose your mind. You were obsessed, Jonathan. You weren't thinking straight. Because she's my daughter. Jonathan slammed his hand on the table. You knew that. You've known it from the moment she walked into my office. That's why you panicked. That's why you tried to run her out of town. Emily had been silent until now, but she leaned forward, her voice steady, despite the tears on her cheeks. Why did you do it? I need to understand. Was I really worth so little to you? Margaret looked at Emily, really looked at her, and something flickered in her expression. Guilt, regret. It was gone too quickly to tell. You were in the way, Margaret said finally, her voice flat. Catherine was in the way. Jonathan would never have left her, never have noticed me while she was alive. And you were just a child, a complication. So you killed my mother. Emily's voice shook. You murdered her. The accident was meant for both of you. Margaret's mask was completely gone now, her face hard and cold, quick, painless. But when I got to the scene, you were alive, unconscious but alive, and I couldn't. She stopped, took a breath. I couldn't kill a child, not like that, not in cold blood. How generous, Jonathan said bitterly. So I made other arrangements, the doctor, the orphanage. You'd be alive, just far away, a new life. What was the harm in that? The harm? Emily stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. I spent 18 years thinking nobody wanted me, thinking I was worthless, abandoned. Do you have any idea what that does to a child? To grow up believing you're not worth loving? You survived. Margaret's voice was defensive now. You turned out fine. That's not the point. Emily's voice broke. You stole my father from me, stole my family, my identity, my entire life. And for what? Money, a mansion, a title. Margaret stood too, facing Emily across the table. You don't understand. You're young. You don't know what it's like to have nothing, to be nothing, to watch other people live the lives you deserve. Her voice was bitter now. I earned this life. I was there for Jonathan when he was broken. I put him back together. I made him successful again. Built on a lie. Gerald interjected quietly. Mrs. Reed, you're aware that what you've just admitted to constitutes multiple felonies, fraud, conspiracy, possibly even manslaughter depending on how the prosecutor views your role in the accident. Margaret sat back down slowly, the reality of her situation finally sinking in. What happens now? That's up to you. Jonathan's voice was ice. You can come with us to the police station right now and confess everything. Full cooperation. Gerald thinks we can probably negotiate a deal. Maybe 10 to 15 years instead of life. Or, Margaret's voice was barely a whisper, or we turn all this evidence over to the DA tomorrow morning and let them build the strongest case possible. They'll charge you with everything they can make stick. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. The room fell silent, except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. Margaret stared at the papers spread across the table. The evidence of her crimes, her lies, her betrayal. I loved you, Jonathan said quietly. Maybe not the way I loved Catherine, but I did love you. I trusted you with everything. How could you do this? Because you never really saw me. Margaret's voice was hollow. Even after 18 years, I was always second, always the replacement, never enough. She looked at Emily. And she would have made it worse. Another reminder of what you'd lost. Of Catherine. She's my daughter, Jonathan said simply. And you took her from me. Margaret stood, her movements mechanical. I'll need to pack some things. No, Richard shook his head. We go now, directly to the police station. Gerald's already contacted them. They're expecting us. Margaret looked around the dining room, at the expensive furnishings, the crystal chandelier, the life she'd built through manipulation and murder. Then she looked at Jonathan one last time. I'm sorry, she said, and for just a moment, she actually sounded like she meant it. 2 hours later, Margaret Reed was in a holding cell, charged with fraud, conspiracy, and being investigated for manslaughter. Jonathan and Emily sat in Gerald's car outside the police station, emotionally drained. It's really over, Emily said quietly. The legal part's just beginning, Gerald warned. But yes, the truth is out now. She can't hurt you anymore. Jonathan turned to his daughter, and it still felt surreal to think that word, to know she was really here. I know this doesn't fix the 18 years we lost. Nothing can. But we have now. We have the future. Emily leaned against her father's shoulder, and for the first time in her life, she felt safe, truly safe. Yeah, she whispered. We do. The first days after Margaret's arrest felt surreal. Jonathan moved Emily into the mansion, her childhood home. Though she had no memory of it, he'd had the guest room prepared. But standing in the doorway, looking at the carefully neutral decor, he realized that wasn't right. Wait here, he told Emily. He went to the east wing, to a door he hadn't opened in 15 years. His hand shook as he turned the key. The room beyond was frozen in time. Pale yellow walls with hand-painted butterflies, a white wooden bed with a purple comforter, shelves lined with stuffed animals and picture books. Margaret had wanted to clear it out years ago, turn it into a home gym. Jonathan had refused, though he'd never been able to articulate why. Now he knew. Some part of him had never stopped hoping. This was your room, he said when Emily joined him in the doorway. She stepped inside slowly, running her fingers over the dusty furniture. A mobile of stars and moons hung motionless above the bed. Books were still stacked on the nightstand. Goodnight Moon, Where the Wild Things Are, The Velveteen Rabbit. On the dresser sat a music box shaped like a carousel. Emily wound it up. A tinkling melody filled the room, and something stirred in the depths of her memory. Not quite a picture, more like a feeling. Safety, warmth, love. I remember this song, she whispered. I don't know from where, but I remember it. Jonathan's eyes filled with tears. Your mother played it for you every night before bed. She'd wind it up and we'd both sit with you until you fell asleep. Emily touched the carousel horses, frozen mid-gallop. Tell me about her, about my mother. They sat on the floor, backs against the bed, and Jonathan talked. He told Emily about Catherine's laugh, loud and uninhibited, the kind that made strangers smile, about her terrible cooking, but how she'd try anyway, filling the kitchen with smoke and laughter, about how she'd wanted to be a teacher, how she'd volunteered at the elementary school reading to kids. She sang constantly, Jonathan said, smiling through his tears. In the shower, doing dishes, driving, usually off-key. You used to try to sing along. What was her favorite song? What a Wonderful World. Louis Armstrong version. We danced to it at our wedding. Jonathan pulled out his phone and found the song, pressing play. As the gravelly voice filled the room, Emily closed her eyes. And suddenly, she was 4 years old again, standing on her father's feet as he swayed to music, her mother watching from the doorway with love in her eyes. I remember, she gasped. Oh my God, I remember. You were wearing a blue shirt. Mom had flour in her hair from baking. We were dancing in the kitchen and she was laughing. That was a Sunday morning, Jonathan said, wonder in his voice. You begged me to dance with you every morning for a month after that. The memory slipped away, but it left warmth behind. Emily grabbed her father's hand. More. Tell me more. They talked for hours. Jonathan brought down boxes from the attic, photo albums, home videos, Catherine's journals. They watched Emily's first steps on grainy video, Saw her third birthday party where she'd cried because the clowns scared her. Laughed at footage of her trying to teach the family dog to dance. You were obsessed with butterflies, Jonathan said, showing her a photo of tiny Emily in a butterfly costume for Halloween. You'd chase them in the yard for hours. Your mother bought you that pendant because of it. Emily touched her throat where the pendant now hung. Jonathan had given it to her the day after Margaret's arrest. I still love butterflies. I never knew why. Over the following weeks, they fell into a careful rhythm. Jonathan rearranged his work schedule to be home for dinners. They'd cook together, badly, laughing at their combined incompetence in the kitchen. Emily started seeing a therapist specializing in recovered memories and childhood trauma. Slowly, piece by piece, her past emerged from the fog. She remembered her mother reading to her, doing all the character voices, remembered fighting with Jonathan over eating vegetables, him hiding broccoli in her mashed potatoes, remembered a birthday party at a bounce house where she'd scraped her knee and refused to cry because brave girls don't cry, Daddy. You were stubborn even then, Jonathan said fondly. Wonder where I got that from. Emily smiled. But it wasn't all happy memories. Some nights, Emily woke screaming from nightmares of the accident, though she hadn't been conscious for it. Her mind filled in the blanks with horror. Jonathan would hear her and come running, sitting with her until the shaking stopped. I'm scared I'll forget again, she admitted one night, that I'll wake up, and this will all be gone, that you'll be gone. I'm not going anywhere, Jonathan promised. Never again. One Saturday morning, Jonathan asked Emily if she was ready for something important. He drove them to a cemetery on the outskirts of the city. They walked through rows of headstones until they reached a simple granite marker under an oak tree. Catherine Ann Reed, beloved wife and mother, 1978-2007. Her love remains. Emily knelt in the grass, touching her mother's name. Hi, Mom, she whispered. I'm sorry it took me so long to visit. I didn't know. I didn't remember. Jonathan knelt beside her, placing flowers on the grave. She'd be so proud of you, Em. So proud of the woman you've become despite everything. I wish I could remember her face more clearly. I have the photos, but I want to remember how she looked at me, how she made me feel. Loved, Jonathan said simply. She made you feel loved. That never changes, even when the details fade. They sat in silence, the autumn wind rustling leaves around them. Emily thought about the woman buried here, her mother, who she'd mourned without knowing it for 18 years. The loss felt fresh and ancient all at once. I'm going to make something of my life, Emily said firmly. I'm going to make both of you proud. You already have. Jonathan put his arm around her shoulders. But what do you want to do? You never finished high school because of the orphanage. We can fix that. College, career training, anything you want. Emily had been thinking about this. I want to help other kids like me. Lost kids. Kids who think nobody's looking for them. She looked at her father. I want to start a foundation for missing children and their families. Jonathan's throat tightened. Your mother would love that. They started planning it right there in the cemetery, sitting beside Catherine's grave, the Catherine Reed Foundation for Missing Children. They'd fund searches, provide resources for families, support orphanages and foster systems, give hope to people who thought hope was gone. As they walked back to the car, Emily stopped. Dad? The word still felt new in her mouth. Precious. Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for never giving up, for looking for me even when everyone said I was gone. Jonathan pulled her into a hug. I felt you out there, somewhere. I didn't know if it was real or just wishful thinking, but I felt it. A father knows. That evening, they had dinner with Richard and Gerald, celebrating the preliminary hearing where Margaret's bail had been denied. The evidence was overwhelming. Her trial date was set for spring. She'll likely plead guilty, Gerald said. Take the deal. 15 years with possibility of parole. Good, Emily said quietly. She'd been terrified Margaret would somehow get out, come after her again. 15 years felt like breathing room. After their guests left, Jonathan and Emily sat on the back porch watching the sunset, paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The city sprawled below them, millions of lights beginning to twinkle in the gathering dark. I have something for you, Jonathan said. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm. a butterfly with tiny diamonds for wings. "It was supposed to be your 6th birthday present," he said. "I bought it a week before the accident. Couldn't bring myself to return it, so I kept it waiting." Emily held out her wrist, and he clasped it on. The butterfly caught the last rays of sunlight, sparkling against her skin. "It's perfect," she whispered. They sat together as night fell, father and daughter reunited, building a future from the pieces of a shattered past. There was still pain ahead, therapy, legal battles, moments when the lost years would hit them both like a freight train. But there was also this: quiet evenings and shared memories, laughter over burned dinners and tears over old photographs, the simple, profound miracle of having each other back. For the first time in 18 years, Jonathan Reed felt whole. 6 months later, spring had transformed the city. Cherry blossoms lined the streets, and the air carried the promise of new beginnings. Emily stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the collar of her navy blazer. Behind her reflection, she could see the walls of her new office, modest but professional, with windows overlooking the park where that fateful photograph had been taken 18 years ago. The Catherine Reed Foundation for Missing Children had opened its doors 3 weeks ago. Emily served as program director, a title that felt both thrilling and terrifying. She'd spent the winter getting her GED, taking online courses in nonprofit management, and working with Jonathan to build something that mattered. "You ready?" Jonathan appeared in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "The first family arrives in 10 minutes. Emily took the coffee gratefully. They were meeting the Johnsons, whose 7-year-old son had vanished from a playground 2 months ago. The police had exhausted their leads. The Johnsons had exhausted their savings hiring private investigators. Now they'd come to the foundation as a last hope. Emily knew that desperation intimately. "I'm ready," she said. The meeting was heartbreaking and hopeful in equal measure. Mrs. Johnson cried as she showed Emily photos of her son, a gap-toothed boy with bright eyes and a Spider-Man backpack. Mr. Johnson sat silent and haunted, the weight of his grief making him seem decades older than his 35 years. "We can help," Emily said, and meant it. The foundation would fund a new search team, distribute updated posters, hire forensic experts to review evidence. "We won't give up. We'll keep looking as long as it takes." After they left, Emily stood at the window, watching them walk to their car. Mrs. Johnson leaned on her husband, and he wrapped his arm around her. "You okay?" Jonathan asked. "That could have been you," Emily said quietly. "Looking for me, never giving up hope. It was me for 18 years. Jonathan joined her at the window. "And now we get to give other families what I finally got. That's not nothing, Em." The foundation became Emily's purpose. She threw herself into the work, coordinating searches, counseling families, advocating for better policies around missing children. Some nights she worked until midnight, fueled by coffee and determination. "You need to rest," Jonathan said one evening, finding her asleep at her desk, surrounded by case files. "Can't, the Martinez girl. There's been a possible sighting in Arizona. I need to coordinate with the local police before. The team can handle it for one night. You need to take care of yourself too." He gently closed her laptop. "Come on, we're going home." At the mansion, they'd fallen into comfortable routines. Dinner together most nights. Jonathan teaching Emily to cook meals that didn't end in smoke alarms. Movie nights where they'd argue good-naturedly about what to watch. Quiet mornings where Emily would find her father already up, making breakfast, humming the same songs Catherine used to sing. Emily's memories continued to surface, triggered by unexpected things. A particular perfume would send her back to being 5 years old, wrapped in her mother's embrace. The sound of rain against windows made her remember lazy Sunday afternoons reading with her parents. Each recovered memory was a gift, even when it hurt. "I remembered Mom's voice today," Emily told Jonathan over dinner one night. "Really heard it, not just imagined it. She was singing me to sleep, that lullaby she made up." Jonathan's eyes filled. What brought it back? "I was working with a little girl at the foundation. She was scared, wouldn't talk to anyone. So I just sat with her and hummed. And suddenly, I was the one being comforted. Mom's voice in my ear, promising everything would be okay. She had a gift for that, making everything feel safe." They talked late into the night about Catherine, her quirks, her kindness. her terrible sense of direction that got them lost even with GPS. Jonathan shared stories Emily couldn't possibly remember. How Catherine had craved pickles and ice cream during pregnancy. How she'd cried happy tears the first time she'd held Emily. How she'd made Jonathan pinky swear to always protect their daughter. "I broke that promise," Jonathan said heavily. "I let Margaret..." "Stop." Emily grabbed his hand. "You didn't let anything happen. Margaret lied to you when you were at your most vulnerable. You searched for me. You never stopped loving me. That's what matters." The trial came in April. Emily sat in the courtroom beside her father as Margaret was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, looking diminished without her designer clothes and perfectly styled hair. Their eyes met across the room, and Emily saw something she hadn't expected: regret. Margaret pled guilty to all charges as part of her deal. 15 years, eligible for parole after 10 with good behavior. As the judge read the sentence, Margaret looked at Emily one last time. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. Emily didn't respond. She'd spent months in therapy working through her anger, her grief, her trauma. She'd learned that forgiveness wasn't about excusing what Margaret had done. It was about not letting that woman's choices continue to poison her life. "She doesn't get any more of my energy," Emily had told her therapist. "She took 18 years. That's all she gets." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. The story had made headlines. Billionaire's daughter found alive after 18 years. Wife arrested in shocking conspiracy. Jonathan's lawyers handled most of the press. But Emily gave one statement: "I'm grateful to have my father back," she said simply. "And I hope our foundation can help other families find what we found. Each other." That summer, Emily enrolled in college. She'd decided to study social work and psychology, courses that would help her better serve the foundation's mission. She was older than most of her classmates, but that didn't bother her. She'd learned that life didn't follow a timeline. On her 24th birthday, Jonathan threw a party at the mansion. It was small, just close friends, foundation staff, and Richard and Gerald, who'd become like family. But there was a surprise guest. Emily Reed, an elderly woman, stood at the door, her eyes wet with tears. "I'm Dorothy Martinez, Catherine's mother, your grandmother." Emily had known abstractly that she had living relatives on her mother's side, but Dorothy had been estranged from Catherine at the time of the accident. They'd been working on reconciliation when the crash happened. "I didn't know if you'd want to see me," Dorothy said, "but Jonathan found me, and I had to meet you. You look so much like her, like my Catherine." They embraced, two people bound by love for the same woman, mourning the same loss. Dorothy stayed for hours, sharing stories about Catherine's childhood, showing Emily photos she'd never seen. "She'd be so proud of you," Dorothy said. "What you're doing with the foundation, the woman you've become." As guests mingled and laughter filled the house, Emily stood on the same back porch where she'd sat with her father that first night. The city sprawled below, the same view she'd had as a child. Though she hadn't known it then, Jonathan joined her, handing her a glass of champagne. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Thank you for all of this, for finding me, for not giving up. Thank you for coming home." He clinked his glass against hers. "To new beginnings. To new beginnings," Emily echoed. Inside, someone started playing music. "What a wonderful world," drifted through the open doors. Jonathan held out his hand. "May I have this dance?" Emily stepped onto her father's feet like she had when she was 4 years old, and they swayed to Louis Armstrong's gravelly voice. Around them, friends and family watched with smiles and tears. The lost daughter had found her way home. The broken family was healing, and though 18 years could never be recovered, they had something just as precious, right now and all the tomorrows to come. 1 year after Margaret's sentencing, Emily stood at the cemetery again, but this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a group of 12 families, their children holding white balloons. These were the success stories. Children the Catherine Reed Foundation had helped find and bring home. "Today is about remembering," Emily said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her chest. "Remembering those we've lost, and celebrating those we've found. My mother, Catherine Reed, never got to see me grow up, but her love gave me the strength to survive. And now, through this foundation, Her legacy helps bring families back together. She placed a bouquet of wildflowers on Catherine's grave, the same kind her mother used to pick on their walks through the park. One by one, the families came forward, adding their own flowers, their own thanks. The Martinez boy, found safe in Arizona. The Chen twins, recovered from a custody kidnapping. The teenage girl who'd run away and been convinced to come home. 12 lives changed. 12 families whole again. After the ceremony, Jonathan stood beside his daughter, watching the families embrace, watching children laugh and play among the headstones. "Your mother would be amazed by this," he said quietly. "By you. We built it together," Emily said. "You and me. Her memory and our hope." The foundation had grown beyond anything they'd imagined. 4 full-time staff members now, partnerships with law enforcement agencies across 3 states, a database of missing children that was becoming a national resource. Emily had graduated with her bachelor's degree in social work and was already being courted by graduate programs. But more than the professional success, Emily had found herself, the lost girl from the orphanage, the one who'd felt hollow and incomplete her entire life, had finally become whole. "I have something to tell you," Emily said as they walked to the car. "I got a letter yesterday from Margaret." Jonathan stiffened. "You don't have to read anything, I already did." Emily pulled the letter from her purse. "She's not asking for forgiveness. She knows she doesn't deserve it, but she wanted me to know something." She handed him the letter. Jonathan's eyes scanned the neat handwriting. "Emily, I won't insult you by asking you to forgive me. What I did was unforgivable. I took your mother, your father, your entire childhood. No amount of time in prison will balance that scale. But I need you to know, in my own twisted way, I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. I told myself you'd have a better life not knowing what you'd lost. That ignorance was a kindness. I was wrong about everything. The truth is, I was jealous. Jealous of Catherine for being loved so completely. Jealous of you for having a father who would move heaven and earth to find you. I wanted that love for myself, and in trying to take it, I destroyed it. You've built something beautiful from the ashes of what I burned. The foundation, your relationship with Jonathan, the lives you're saving. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and made it matter. I hope you find peace. I hope you find happiness. And I hope you never become as broken and selfish as I was." Margaret Jonathan folded the letter carefully. "How do you feel about it?" "Sad, mostly. For her, for everyone she hurt, including herself." Emily looked at the cemetery, at her mother's grave visible through the trees. "But also, free. She doesn't have power over me anymore. She's just a broken woman who made terrible choices and has to live with them. That's very mature of you. I learned from the best." Emily bumped his shoulder with hers. They drove to the foundation office where a celebration was waiting. The staff had organized a party to mark the foundation's first anniversary. Balloons, cake, and a banner reading 1 year. 12 families. Infinite hope. Richard was there with his wife. Gerald with his partner, Dorothy, Emily's grandmother, had become a regular volunteer, answering phones and comforting distraught parents with the wisdom of someone who'd known that particular grief. She hugged Emily tightly. "Your mother is smiling down today," Dorothy whispered. "I feel it in my bones." As the party wound down, a young woman approached Emily hesitantly. She looked familiar, but Emily couldn't place her. "Hi," the woman said. "I don't know if you remember me. I'm Sarah Chen. You helped find my sisters 2 months ago." "Of course. How are they doing?" "Good, really good. They're in therapy, adjusting. But they're home and safe." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to thank you and to tell you something. Your story. Reading about what happened to you. It's what made me never give up. If you could survive 18 years and still find your way home, I knew my sisters could survive 2 months." Emily hugged her. "You never gave up on them. That's what mattered. Neither did your dad. That's what I tell myself on hard days. Somewhere out there, there's a Jonathan Reed who won't stop looking, who won't stop loving." Sarah smiled through her tears. "You give people hope, Emily. Real hope." After Sarah left, Emily found Jonathan on the office balcony, looking out at the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. In the park below, Children played on the swings where Emily had posed for that photograph 19 years ago. "I've been thinking about something," Emily said, joining him. "About that day at the park. The photo. What if you hadn't taken it? What if I'd lost the only copy in the orphanage? We might never have found each other." "We would have," Jonathan said with certainty. "Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe it would have happened differently. But I never stopped looking, and you never stopped searching for where you belonged. We would have found each other eventually." "You really believe that?" "I have to. Otherwise, the pain of those 18 years would crush me." He put his arm around her shoulders. "But here's what I know for sure. We have now. We have this moment, and tomorrow, and all the days after. That's not nothing, Em. That's everything." They stood together as the sun sank below the horizon, father and daughter, watching the city lights begin to sparkle. The butterfly pendant hung around Emily's neck, catching the last rays of light. On her wrist, the bracelet Jonathan had given her gleamed softly. "I love you, Dad," Emily said. The words came easily now, natural as breathing. "I love you too, sweetheart. Always have, always will." Inside, their friends and colleagues were still celebrating, still sharing stories of hope and reunion. The Catherine Reed Foundation would continue its work, helping lost children find their way home. Emily would keep studying, keep growing, keep building a life worthy of the second chance she'd been given. Margaret would serve her time, carrying the weight of her choices. Maybe one day she'd find some measure of peace. Maybe not. Either way, she no longer had any power over Emily's story. And Jonathan, he'd finally forgiven himself for the years he couldn't protect his daughter. He'd learned that love doesn't end just because someone is lost. It waits, patient and persistent, until the lost are found again. As night fell completely, Emily and Jonathan went back inside to their friends, their family, their life. The past would always be part of them. The grief, the loss, the 18 years of separation. But it didn't define them anymore. They were defined by this: the choice to keep loving even when love seemed impossible. The choice to keep searching even when everyone said to give up. The choice to build something beautiful from the broken pieces. Emily touched the butterfly pendant, feeling its familiar weight against her heart. Some butterflies, she thought, travel thousands of miles to find their way home.